AM. When you say you'll see that everything is totally empty, I see that everything are just concepts. I'm not sure I would call that empty. In other words, things appear, even me, a body, but it's just a concept. Concepts are just a stream of words put together to create a thought. And if you try to find the thought, you see the source of the thought you cannot find, thus equals empty. Thus the world is an illusion. Yeah, thank you. That's beautifully put, AM. Oops, sorry, I think it was too long. No, it's not too long. I was just joking before. That's not too long. This is the problem with my jokes sometimes. So then makes people insecure. It's not too. It was beautiful what you said, AM. Yeah, I mean, it's really beautifully put. Like, all concepts are an illusion. And then at some point there will be a grace where there is a shift in perception. And those concepts go into the background, and what comes into the foreground is the emptiness. That everything is empty, and it's no longer something you know. It's no longer something you understand. It is the experience, which is without words and unknowing. That's weird, eh? No. Yeah, so it becomes the experience. The emptiness is, and it's not something you deduct, it's that everything is empty. There is nobody here experiencing. Thoughts, habits, conditions arise, but for no one. There isn't a centralized I. Well, that centralized seeking I is in the middle. It gives the appearance of this coming from something, the being a subject here, experiencing an objective world. So that seeking illusory I creates like this denseness in the body. It's like an energetic expression of there is a soul in here. And when that dissipates, and this is through grace, there's an energetic shift. This is completely empty. And that also heals and affects the character to an extent. But it kind of makes it more ghost-like, but it doesn't get rid of all the conditions. Like, so the character's conditions can still stay in play. So if you liked tea before, you more than likely carry on like tea. If you didn't like people speaking to you in a certain manner, you more than likely won't like that again. Like, that's the habit that will come up with this body, but it doesn't belong to anyone. And then the habit might be a particular way to respond, like your mother used to respond, but it doesn't belong to anyone. A lot of New Age people think that enlightenment is getting rid of all habits and conditions. It's not getting rid of them, it's losing the centralized seeking I that's trying to make those habits and conditions as somebody that's experiencing life. So that means, like, just to be clear, Lisa can still be a twit who loses her temper, who acts inappropriately. Like today, I can't speak about humans because they've all asked me not to, although sometimes I slip. So I can only speak about Khaleesi because she can't speak or think in a complex way. She doesn't have aversion to being talked about and discussed over the internet. But today I behaved in a twit way towards Khaleesi. She, yeah, you know, like I was a twit. Like this characteristic came out twittish. Yeah, like just as an example, you know, it doesn't mean that you do everything right, but it's what's coming from that emptiness, so it's right in that moment. But it doesn't mean that it's right as in, like, you can look at that and be like, that was right action. You can say it's right action because that's what's coming from emptiness, but it's not like the wisest of actions. So Khaleesi's developed a very clever technique to get more food out of me. As she's getting later in life, she's got health issues. She's beginning to demand more food, maybe because she feels more vulnerable. And her technique is it's very intelligent, and I can't break it. If you're a dog owner and you know how to break this, please give me a comment below and tell me, or if you know a video which can help break this. Is what she does is she goes in the garden and she barks at me, and then when I try to get her in to stop her barking, she runs around so I can't catch her. So even tempting her with food doesn't work. She knows staying out there barking at me, for some reason she knows it's her best option of getting food. So today I decided to just leave her and see if she'd bark herself out. And she got herself in a state. And by the time I got her in, she was in a state which is not nice for an older dog. So imagine if that was a child. I'm not laughing, but it's not like what the right action is, but it's the right action in that moment. So Lisa, in that moment's destiny was to be a twit dog owner. Didn't think that through properly. But it's not Lisa. There's not somebody here that owns that. It's an appearance. So that was the appearance. And that's the perfect appearance, and that's the destiny. And it gets worse. I also got annoyed with her because I was actually having a bath. She seems to know when that's happening, because that's when she'll do it the most. So then you can just imagine the sight of me. I had to keep getting out of the bath, chasing her around the garden in my towel, trying to get her in when it was freezing. Yeah, so then eventually I was like, I'm just going to lay here and let her do it and then see what happens. So then when I did get her in and she was in a state, I didn't comfort her. I little bit did, but I was annoyed, so I just got back in the bath. And nothing was going to work. I had to feed her something to calm her down in the end. So that's not it's not like perfect behavior, like you become some godly saint that walks around doing godly saintly behavior. It's the conditioned responses that arise, but the difference is it doesn't belong to someone. They are coming out. Habits and conditions are coming out for nobody. It's absolute freedom. So when there was annoyance with Khaleesi, it was absolute annoyance. And there was running around the garden in my towel, freezing the ass off with bare feet in the frozen grass. That's what there was. I don't know if I was annoyed at that point. But from a psychological perspective, if that was like human interactions, you can see afterwards you could learn information of how to do it better. So somebody could send me a video of how to manage that situation better, and you can have more skillful communication. But the difference between psychology and non-duality is the centralized seeking I. That's the difference. That's the fundamental difference. Which changes things. I mean, maybe someone else would have been more irate in that situation. And maybe someone else would have been more wise. We don't know. But it does change. to an extent, it makes it more empty and more easy, but and the reason that I tell these stories about myself is because often what people expect is that they're going to be walking on clouds. You know, there's going to be this awakening, they're going to be walking on clouds, and everything's law of attraction, so everything's going to run perfectly for them, which is completely ignoring the nature of existence, that everything changes. And if everything changes, then there's going to be friction between objects in the appearance of things. And so the freedom here is the stillness of what you are, not the appearance of life. But people get so hung up on this. And that's a seeking pattern, because people feel imperfect, they feel not good enough. They look to life for perfection, which is impossible, because this is always changing. And if this is always changing, then this ideal life of never having entropy is not going to happen. You know, your roof is going to need changing. Your equipment is going to break. People around you are going to die. Money is going to be gained and lost. It's not like an enlightened person, it's just like, money, 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 house never falls down because it's all law of attraction. I like the teaching of law of attraction because it can be good for undoing thought patterns. But if you're waiting for the perfect life, if you're waiting for the perfect person or to be the perfect therapized person that has the best reactions, it's seeking. What's underneath that? It's more than likely abandonment or fear. Those are the two main seeking polarities of the character underneath it all. I'm going to be abandoned from society, which means death, or I'm going to be killed, fear, which means death of the ego, of the seeking I. So next time you want to imagine yourself as being a perfect enlightened person, you can imagine me chasing Khaleesi around a freezing cold garden with a towel wrapped around me, dripping wet, and she's loving that part. And then as soon as I go back in again, get in the bath, whiff, whiff.